Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another one of my live videos. And today I'm just going to be discussing with you again, as we always do on this channel. So before I do get into the whole thing, please press that like button. If you do consider subscribe, and or at least drop a like. If you do consider subscribe, or put your comments below as we go through this video. So basically, I think we've got a catalogue of players that are coming to the end of the deals at the end of the season, and potentially we could see quite a lot of players leave. It's likely it could happen if Jose Mourinho does potentially stay as a Manchester United manager. We know we've had problems with the team. We've had problems with Jose Mourinho. There's been moves in and out of the press about Conte and Zidane potentially replacing Jose Mourinho at Old Trafford. Potentially for me, he's being criticised for his tactics. He's being criticised for his team selection. He doesn't potentially know his best 11. And for me, I think at this moment in time, the strapping of the club's way too high for Jose Mourinho. His style of play, Jose's style of play is not good. A lot of the players, quite a few of the players, are annoyed with Jose Mourinho, are unsatisfied with Jose Mourinho's appearance to the club, his managerial style, his style of football, and the players are basically unsatisfied about this as well. So we'll go through into the process. So we've got a lot of players coming to end their deals. Reportedly, Jose Mourinho is going to get around £100 million spending spree in January. Reportedly, the journalists have put a cold water on this speculation that it will happen. A few journalists online posted on that it will not happen because Jose Mourinho won't be given the opportunity. Reportedly, it did say, when we was in that good run of form before the City game, that the board were backing Mourinho. There were going to be talks ahead of the January transfer window. Jose Mourinho wants to sort the defensive issues out. He wants to sanction a couple of defenders off them as well. He also wants an attacker up front to lead the lines with Lukaku as a backup option as well, because we know Romelu Lukaku hasn't been in his best form this season because he hadn't scored in like 9 or 10 games. He'd missed the 2 previous games before the Manchester derby. He was very, very good last season, to be quite fair, but everyone talks about him being a big game bottler. He bottles it in the big games. Everyone talks about his first touch because his first touch is woeful. We know Martial and Rashford have obviously been playing, being full in his spot, as we all currently know. But we know Jose Mourinho's under so much pressure at the club. We have had glimpses of the Fergie days. The performances haven't been the best. Before the City game, we were on scoring late goals, producing good comebacks, like we used to do under the Alex Ferguson era. But the performances are just basically not acceptable. Jose Mourinho's had disputes with Luke Shaw in the past. Luke Shaw's getting a lot more game time this season at Old Trafford. We've had him since 2014 from Southampton. He didn't get a lot of game time last season because Jose Mourinho had disputes with him. There were talks last year of him potentially leaving Manchester United. Never happened. We know that he's known for injuries. He's Luke Shaw. He's injury prone. Was injury prone at Southampton. He's had quite a few injuries since he's come to Man United in his time with Manchester United. But potentially, we could I just don't think these players are playing for Jose Mourinho properly. I think Jose, basically, in the last 3 managerial eras now, including Mourinho, we spent a lot of money. We spent around £1 billion on players. Well, £1 billion or over, and the most expensive is obviously Paul Pogba for £89 million. But we spent £1 billion in all managerial eras, including Moyes, Van Gaal, and now Mourinho. Basically, we've had different managers with different philosophies and different styles of play as well. And Mourinho's philosophy for me doesn't suit this club. Van Gaal's philosophy didn't suit the club. And I think, his philosophy just isn't up there, compared to the likes of Guardiola's philosophy, who had a good pedigree with Barcelona and Bayern Munich. He spent the majority of his money that he spent his managerial career, which is £1 billion, on Manchester City. And Jurgen Klopp spent just under £400 million on the Liverpool team because their style of play is great, good attacking football. And Jose Mourinho's is basically isn't that. So basically, I just don't think Jose Mourinho has the philosophy like the likes of, has a good philosophy like Klopp and Pep Guardiola. No, he just doesn't, he's just comparison to them. He's Jose Mourinho. But basically, as he updated you earlier on, guys, about the David De Gea situation, reportedly now his representatives have been in discussions of signing David De Gea, this contract extension. it's currently a debate at the moment because basically David De Gea is refusing basically to sign this new contract. David De Gea's spot on though. David De Gea basically has been here since 2011. Old Trafford, you know, he's up to Atletico Madrid. He was very, very good with Atletico Madrid. David De Gea, and potentially David De Gea he says, you know, he wants to be up there challenging for silverware. He wants to be up there competing, and Manchester United are just not competing because we're 12 points from top. We're 7 points behind top four. Mourinho's still convinced them we can get the top four. But De Gea basically, since the Alex Ferguson retirement, you know, when we had nearly 3 decades of success under Alex Ferguson, we had all in great players. Alex Ferguson, he spent money as well. But it paid off because look at the success that Alex Ferguson achieved. Yeah, David De Gea, I think, you know, basically a lot of these players, you know, like, since the Alex Ferguson era, you know, like I said, with David De Gea, though, basically wants to be up there competing. That's what he's saying. A player of his calibre, you know, he wants Manchester United to be up there competing, you know, and I think, you know, a lot of the players are unsatisfied with Jose Mourinho, but David De Gea, I think his best time, his experience since he's come to Old Trafford is the Alex Ferguson era. You know, because David De Gea joined with he joined in 2011, so he was under Ferg for like 2 or 3 years. 2 years was David De Gea, and he experienced the last couple of years of the fantastic times with Manchester United under Alex Ferguson. But since then, we haven't been the same team. David De Gea, he's understanding the lack of ambition, the lack of work ethic from Manchester United, and he's understanding this now. He knows now, you know, He knows now Manchester United are no longer competing for titles. We're no longer competing for Champions Leagues, you know, as we used to. And David De Gea experiences because he's won 1 Premier League title with us. That's when David De Gea, you know, potentially loved Manchester United. Deep down, he still loves Manchester United, but he just knows that we're currently in turmoil. He knows that the team are just not playing, and he knows a lot of players are unsatisfied with Jose Mourinho. Potentially, David De Gea would potentially want to maybe go to a club that is up there challenging for titles and being competitive, and Manchester United are just not doing this. And reportedly, the representative being discussions about signing this new contract extension. Reportedly, Man United are willing to hire his current salary as well, David De Gea's. But it said Mourinho a couple of weeks back, something like that, he wasn't too convinced that De Gea was actually going to sign this contract extension as well. I think he's unhappy at the club now, because we're no longer competing. We haven't challenged for major honours, since the Ferguson retirement. We've won a couple of trophies here and there, but we haven't won the Premier League. We haven't been that competitive in the Champions League. We've seen players come in, we've seen players leave, especially under Van Gaal and stuff like that. And for me, we could definitely see, and De Gea is potentially the best goalkeeper in the world. And for me, potentially we could see a few players leave in January. For me, Matteo Darmian's not getting the game time. He's not getting the game time. Matteo Darmian, he's only played once this season. Reportedly, he's linked to a move back to Italy. He played for Torino. We've now had him for like 4 seasons now. Matteo Darmian. He plays as a fullback. For me, I think he wants to leave because he can't even get into the team. Jose Mourinho wants to keep these till the end of the season. He's also another player coming to an end of his contract as well. We know Luke Shaw's playing in that fullback position on the left back position. He's playing a lot more this season than he did last season. Potentially, Mourinho said he wants to get rid of Marcus Rojo. As I said, he hasn't been the same player since, he suffered that injury against Anderlecht, was it last year or so. He said to get rid of Eric Bailly, who we got from Villarreal in 2016, was it? Mourinho paid £30 million for him. But obviously, Bailly can't even get into the team at the moment. So for me, we need a strong centre-back we need a strong centre-back that will complement the likes of Lindelof and Smalling. That will need a strong centre-half in there for absolutely certain. But we've also got Phil Jones there, who's suffered injury problems since he's come to Manchester United. We have the option to extend his contract by a further 12 months as well. The player we've had since Blackburn, I think we got him in 2011. I think it was 2011. or it was 2012 for 17 million. So he's another player coming to an end of his deal. So this Mourinho's looking to sanction a few players off in that centre-back position and invest some money in to get a strong centre-half. And we know Mourinho's, been heavily linked with Toby Alderweireld. Toby Alderweireld, I think, Tottenham think he's worth between 26 to 40 million pounds. Toby Alderweireld, very good player. Man United had been in talks during the summer about potentially getting Toby Alderweireld. Man United have been heavily linked with him. He's a player that's very good. He's Premier League proven. He's been at, I think this is his third or fourth season now with Tottenham. He's also been at Southampton in the past. And he won the title with Atletico Madrid when he was there. He won titles with Ajax, where he risen up the ranks with Ajax as well at the play. And he also got to the Champions League final during his tenure with Atletico Madrid as well. So Man United have been linked with him as well. But for me, Mourinho, I think this happens to this club too high for him, considering that he's got a fantastic pedigree. He's won titles everywhere he's been as Jose Mourinho. But basically, the expectations of the board and this club and the history of this club when Mourinho got appointed manager was to compete for the league or win the Premier League and challenge for the major trophies. This is what we haven't done this, since Ferguson retired, but we haven't even done it under Jose Mourinho. We have won 3 trophies under Mourinho, but it's silverware. That basically, consider the amount of money we've spent, just under 400 million since Mourinho's come along, we should be challenging for the Premier League or being competitive, challenging for the Champions League, with the money we've invested into this club. And I just don't think the players are getting the best out of Mourinho. I don't think Mourinho's getting the best out of the players because he's had disputes with the players, obviously, as Jose Mourinho. But obviously that fear factor's gone. We had that fear factor under Fergie, and Fergie would have bad games, but we'd still know how to win games. But we've lost 4 this season. Under Alex Ferguson, we'd probably lose 4, 5, 6 in one season, not in our first 12 games. And this is what we've done so far on Jose Mourinho. Potentially this is our worst start to a season for absolutely years. The lowest we ever finished all in all was 3rd, under Alex Ferguson. But the lowest we finished all in all when Ferguson retired was 7th under David Moyes, because he didn't have the stature to command us in that position. He got 2 players in at Manchester United. He didn't have a good pedigree. Then we got Van Gaal. Van Gaal didn't have the correct philosophy, but he had a good pedigree with Bayern Munich. He got players into the club, and then obviously some players left. I liked Memphis Depay in that number 7. I thought Depay was good. We had Falcao, we had Di Maria. We had really good players, but obviously the players that Van Gaal got, for us just basically didn't work out. And, the money we've spent since Ferguson's retired, it hasn't really, we haven't really achieved that much, since Ferguson left, and the money that's been spent on the team. And the money that's been spent on this team, we thought, well, when Ferguson retires, we spend money, because obviously, this team now is different to the team that Fergie had. We basically spend money and get us back to the top challenging for the league. And since 2013, it just basically hasn't worked out for some kind of reason. But as I said, with Paul Pogba, Jose Mourinho's had disputes with him. According to Mani Raiola, reportedly, according to him, his current agent, Paul Pogba's that Jose Mourinho and Paul Pogba fixed themselves up. He missed the Manchester derby at the weekend due to injury, so Mourinho said he basically had to put Fellaini in the middle. For me, he should have put Fred there. Paul Pogba, I don't think he's good in the Premier League for Manchester United. He costed £89 million. He was good during his Juventus days, made 179 appearances, won honours there with Juventus in his 4 or 5 years there. We let him go in 2012, I think it was, due to that he couldn't basically get into the first team under Alex Ferguson, Paul Pogba. This is why he basically left. There's been rumours that he could potentially make a return back to Juventus. There has been rumours about that as well. Obviously, Martial, who's been in very good form this season. As I said, he's been with John from the France squad. Anthony Martial, reportedly, he turned down the previous contract offer. Man United are willing to put his salary up. Man United are willing to offer him 45 million a year plus a 5-year contract. Reportedly, he said in the press the other week that Man United were on the brink of securing Martial this new deal. But as I said, players could leave if Jose Mourinho does potentially stay at Old Trafford because they're unhappy with Jose Mourinho, with his with his reluctance to drop Nemanja Matic. And for me, against Crystal Palace, Jose Mourinho needs to drop Nemanja Matic because Matic, I thought he was good when he first came, but this season he has been out of form. He looks static in that midfield. There's no tempo to his play. Nemanja Matic is. And for me, Jose Mourinho definitely needs to drop him. And this is why he's getting more criticism now, because a lot of United fans want to see him dropped. Obviously, Jose Mourinho, has a lot of respect for him. He has a good relationship with Matic. He brought him into Manchester United. And obviously, Mourinho's worked for him in the past as well at Chelsea. So this is basically why he has a lot of respect for Nemanja Matic. For me, in my opinion, that midfield, he needs to give Pereira the chance. Scored a wonder goal against Liverpool pre-season. Herrera, he's played well recently. He hasn't started much from the start of this season, as we all know, under Herrera. But last 2 games, he has featured from the start, but mostly he's been coming on as a substitution. He's been making substitution appearances this season as under Herrera. But yeah, we know Mourinho's spent a lot of money on this team. We know he's inheriting some of the players that Moyes got him, which was Fellaini and Mata, and he's inheriting some of the players that Louis van Gaal got in as well. So basically, it was a disappointment. We should be more of a commanding position than we should be, because Jose Mourinho needs to get it right. He doesn't basically know his potential best 11. Oh, he's charging quick. God. That's on charge. He doesn't potentially know his best 11, does Mourinho. So basically, Mourinho needs to get it right as well. But it's just not working out. And, it's just not working out. And it's just one of those things, as I said, guys. Mata coming to an end of his deal. I don't know if he will stay or go. I'm not too sure. But I think he's a very, very good, consistent player. He's Juan Mata. But for me, Mourinho's after a strong centre half in the January transfer window. But potentially, we have got a good enough squad to at least be up there competing for the top 4. Record away from home this season, very, very bad. We've only won 3 away from home all season in the Premier League. We've conceded 21 goals in 12 games. This is our start to a season. For absolutely years, as I said. We didn't even have as bad a start as this under Moyes. We didn't have as bad a start as this under Van Gaal. So what's going wrong? And potentially for me, we've conceded 21 goals this season. Last season was totally different. We was one of the teams that had kept a lot of clean sheets last season. At the start, especially, compared to this season, I think we're like the 3rd team out of all the teams that have conceded the most goals. I think Fulham are the most that have leaked the most goals. I think we're 3rd or 4th that have conceded the most goals. So it's very, very terrible indeed. This is why Mourinho wants to address the defensive problems out at Manchester United. But Crystal Palace after the international break, that should be a win for Manchester United, no doubt. But Jose Mourinho's got to get it right. He's got to get it tactically right in the games when Arsenal and Liverpool come up. Don't park the bus. Don't play defensive. And just go with an attacking instinct. That's what you need to do. Go with an attacking instinct. And Manchester City, there were no flair, there were no passion, there were no fight from any of the players in that game. The midfield was diabolical. Defensively, terrible. Attackively, Martial, Lingard, Rashford, they couldn't really get the ball fed to them that much because we didn't have a midfield. So how they're going to string them passes to the attackers to create attacks? It's not going to happen, is it? With a midfield of Fellaini, Matic and Herrera. So basically, Mourinho needs to think on. We know he's under serious pressure from leaving the club. We know Zidane has come into the equation of potentially taking over. So too has Conte. For me, would you want Conte or Zidane to take over Jose Mourinho at Manchester United? Champions League, reportedly, if he doesn't get Champions League this season, and we don't get the top 4, obviously, his job's going to be under threat at Old Trafford. Zidane, as I said, reportedly Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich are interested in him. Bayern Munich aren't satisfied with their manager. Zidane, obviously, been in discussions with his representatives about coming to managing English football. There's been talks about Conte. Obviously, he's proven in the Premier League, so he's got a good pedigree in Premier League. You know, he won the title with Chelsea in his first season. Did Conte. You know, he's also won honours with Juventus. You know, he managed at Atlanta. He played for Juventus in his senior career. So there's potentially been talks about Conte as well. But obviously, I think now there'd been talks of a week about Real Madrid wanting Mourinho back. Florentino Perez, the current Real Madrid president, wanted him back there. So there were talks about that. Because obviously, I think Real Madrid have got a new manager now anyway. The previous one had been sacked due to their bad start to this season. Real Madrid, due to a bad start this season, he'd been sacked. We know Zinedine Zidane's managerless at the moment. But yeah, as I said, more things will update in the press, and we'll always update you on this channel of what's going on. Potentially, we could see Sanchez leave as well, as I do keep mentioning to you guys. Paris Saint-Germain reportedly want him, so he could go in January, he could go initially next summer. Failed to make an impact since he's come to United. He's proven in the Premier League because he did it with Arsenal. We're very, very good with Arsene Wenger. Good in Spain with Barcelona as well when he was alongside David Villa and Messi. He's on $500,000 a week. He's failing to establish himself well in the Manchester United squad. So potentially we could see him leave as well because he's not satisfied with Jose's managerial style or his tactics or his style of play. Because he's, we've had 3 different managers since Fergie's left, including Mourinho. 2 different managers, since Fergie's left, now including Mourinho, which is 3. And they've all had different styles of play and they've all had different philosophies as well. So I think we need the right man to come in, as the board is demanding out, the right man to come in to have a good style of play, to have a good managerial style at the club, and to suss out whether these players are good enough for Manchester United or not. And that is the most essential thing, guys. So potentially Darmian could leave. I think Darmian, from his own perspective, wants to depart the club due to he's not getting enough game time at United, especially this season. Rojo hasn't been the same since he got injured against Anderlecht. Bailey, especially this season, he's not getting into the team in that centre-back position. And, we've had Valencia out for a while. We've had Doyle out. He hasn't featured much this season. So it was a disappointing summer window because we only got 3 players in. You only got Lee Grant, Doyle and Fred in, and Fred hasn't really had much of a chance yet. But Mourinho should have definitely started him against Manchester City. Man United are in talks of signing Young a new deal, a new 1-year deal, and Antonio Valencia a new 1-year deal, because they're coming to the halt of their careers soon, because they are aging up now. They're 33 years of age. I think Ashley Young's I think he's very, very good. I think he's more of a right winger. Potentially for me, he's not a right back because, for England, he plays a right wing. For England, plays as a right wing. In his Aston Villa days, he played as a right wing, as we all know. So, but I think he does operate himself well in that right back position, even though essentially he's not a right back. But, Mourinho's been selecting him in that right back position, as we all currently know. Valencia's been here over a decade. He's experienced fantastic times with Manchester United under Fergie. And he'd be a player maybe thinking to himself, just like De Gea, in De Gea's situation, a lot of these players will be thinking, under Fergie, we was winning titles. Obviously, some of the players are still here from Fergie. I'm on about the players, that are still here, from when, the players that are still here now, what we had under Fergie. We know most of them are not here now, the players that we had under Fergie. But there's still quite a few of them, though. They're thinking to themselves, we're no longer competing anymore. We're not going for the Premier League. And they're going to think to themselves, what's going on at Manchester United? This is what and David De Gea is thinking that as well. He wants to be graduating to that higher level. He wants to be graduating to that higher level and competing for silverware. This is what David De Gea is explaining. We did this, and David De Gea was here under the Alex Ferguson era. But since he's gone, we just haven't been the same team, and we haven't been up there challenging. So I hope David De Gea signs his new contract extension. Man United basically want to sign him a lot longer one than the current extension. For me, I hope he doesn't leave, David De Gea. He's potentially the best goalkeeper in the world. It's going to be hard for us to find a replacement of a goalkeeper for a player. It's going to be hard for us to find a player of his calibre as a replacement in net. It's going to be difficult. But Juventus have been monitored an interest. We know Madrid were interested in him till obviously they got till they purchased Courtois. They got him, so obviously Real Madrid are no longer interested in De Gea. And, you know, if we have basically sanctioned De Gea off, you know, we'd want to cash in for the player, and rather than let him go on a free transfer next summer, that would be disappointing. So we'll just have to see what happens as well, guys. So anyway, guys, something to update today. How many players do you think will leave Manchester United, whether it will be in January and Manu will cash in for them, or whether some will leave in January, or whether some will leave next summer? You know, we'll have to see what happens. So, and then Jose Mourinho will have to find potential replacements. So, these players want to be up there competing, winning silverware. This is what these players want at a club like Manchester United, based on the history of this club with the success we've had. You know, they want to be up there challenging. And if they maybe feel as though under Mourinho, with his managerial style, with his style of play, these players are unhappy with him, and these players are going to feel as though that we're never going to be up there competing whilst we've got Mourinho as manager. So, we'll have to see what happens. So anyway, guys, that's everything to update today. Drop your comments, like, explore on the channel, or hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And take care. God bless, guys. And there'll be more live videos coming up soon, as we always do on my channel. So take care. God bless, guys. And I'll see you all again very soon. Bye.